Shalom Makim. It's your brother Malcolm. I'm from Chicago GMS camp, coming at you with another episode of Truth. All right, and I first and foremost like to give all praises, glory, and honor to Yahweh Shemel Shai. That's the name of the true name of the Heavenly Father and His Son. And I'd like to give double honors unto the apostles of GMS, who are the rulers of Israel on earth today, set up by Yahweh Shemel Shai, and to the men that do His work in truth and sincerity, risking their lives and their freedom to do so. All right, because we are living in the last moments of the last days, and things are seriously getting real. That chip technology is being pushed hard, and they're probably going to crash this dollar soon. And who knows what's going to happen with this Obama, Donald Trump, Hillary Clinton triangle thing that's going on here, because now Barack Obama is calling for investigation into the hacking of the election process, but the election process is not even online. So how the hell can it be hacked? It's, Esau's getting sloppy, man, and they're getting desperate. And I keep telling people over and over again that they need a cover for the collapse of this dollar. They cannot let this dollar collapse without a major incident happening. They need something to blame it on. With that, let's get back into a historical lesson, and hopefully it edifies. All right, because my job is to edify the elect, man, and to reveal the son of perdition. So, and this book is pretty revealing. This is back into the book. One dies, get another. All right, convict leasing in the Americas, in America South. All right, from 1866 to 1928, and it has not stopped. It has not stopped. All right, this is part 2 from the first one. It says, and I'm starting on page 20. All right, and it says, one difficulty for current scholarship items, Salakia, stems from the evident continually between convict leasing and slavery. See, because one is the same. That Amendment 13, I'm mentioning it again, I believe for the second time. That Amendment 13 video, you can watch it on Netflix, reveals a lot of this, and it's a continuation of what I'm reading. Okay? But let me just start it again. It said, one difficulty for current scholarship stems from the evident continuality between convict leasing and slavery. Certainty of the control of black labor was leading motivation behind every significant effort to establish and maintain convict leasing for 50 years. Just as plain as similarity between the brutal hardships of convict life and the oppression of slave times. They were one and the same. Finally, the racial character of convict leasing reinforced connection with the slavery regime. George B. Tyndall's observation about the South Carolina applies to all southern states in the Gilded Age. From the beginning, it was understood that the system of convict leasing was a method of utilizing Negro labor. Only in Texas, where black prisoners, a minority of the population, and in the state, proportion of blacks in its population as the whole steadily declined during the leasing decades, until only 20% in 1900, in spite of the black population absolute growth of 2.5 times its 1870 figure of 253,000. In short, the convict leasing was partially a response to the demise of slavery, and it was a total response. So let's read a couple scriptures. Because the Edomites had to figure out a way to oppress Jacob and still make money off of them. All right, and you got to remember, the war between Jacob and Esau has never stopped. And it's still going at this very moment. As a matter of fact, this video going up is a part of that war. What we do against them is a constant fight in that war, man. When we go on the highways and byways and we teach and we expose history, it's this part of that fight. But this is Psalms 12 and 5. For the oppression of the poor, for the sighing of the needy, now will I arise, saith Yahweh. I will set him in safety from him that puffeth at him. And they puffed up at us, man. And he's going to set us into safety. All right, because we have a reward coming to us for all this affliction that we have endured at the hands of our wicked brother Esau, who is the so-called white man. Okay? Believe you me. Well, even if you don't, I don't care. But the time is coming where they're going to pay dearly for the things that they have done against the house of Israel, man. This is Ecclesiastes 5 and 8. And it reads, "If thou seest the oppression of the poor and the violent perverting of judgment and justice in province, marvel not at the matter. For he that is higher than the highest regardeth, and there be higher than they." So Yahweh's, and while Yahweh Shai is higher than they, man, in the affliction of an oppression of the poor, and that will be the Israelites, man, because there's not millions of Jewish people locked up, all right, and being oppressed. And Jewish people didn't go through this. Jewish people were profiting for this because the business and the banking systems were all connected to what was going on here. All right, they were all profiting from it. This is 1 Peter 5 and 8, and it reads, "Be sober and vigilant, because your adversary, the devil, is a roaring lion, walketh about to see who he may devour." All right, so you got to be wise when you're out there in the street, in the streets, and moving about through Esau's kingdom, man. Because at any moment, man, they'll try to, pull you over, get you caught up, man. You got to be careful who you lie with too, man. All right, because believe me, man, these women will catch you up and turn you over to your enemy, man. And it's their enemy too, and they don't realize that they're not only destroying you, but they're destroying the future of their own children. They're destroying the future of their own people, man. All right, turning you over to Esau, man. Okay, let's read. Let's go back and this is page 20 now. It says, "How does convict leasing compare to slavery as a social and economic institution?" Orlando Patterson's magisterial synthesis of slave system is notable in having comprehensively defined slavery. It consists, he contends, with the permanent violent domination, alienated and general dishonored persons. Such a conception might serve as a touchstone by which to evaluate other forms of unfree labor. Though forced labor is in detention under contract was neither permanent nor natally alienating, distinctions between slavery do tend to fade somewhat upon the close examination. As David Bryan Davis observed, if one has been working on a plantation or a penal camp for most of one's life, it probably makes little difference whether one got there by legal fiction or sale of a piece of property, or the result of some alleged civil or political crime that has most faded from memory. Okay, so you know what? I got to run and grab my dictionary. I should have had it on deck. I'll be right back. Salakia.
Do you need the dark gloves?
No. Gonna look up a couple words that I read and told you I'd be right back. It says legal fiction, which they create. All right, that, and that could lead into a whole another lesson, talking about that straw man stuff and the way they connect your name, your connection between your birth certificate and your social security number and all that stuff. Because that's a legal fiction, because there's two of you that exist, but that's going to lead into a whole other thing. But it says the result of some alleged civil or political crime, which could be pretty much anything. Alleged isn't proved. Alleged isn't fact. But yet, you will serve prison time or even lose your life on something that is alleged. And all you got to do is look at the book Without Sanctuary, which is a witness, bears witness, and reveals the the actual actions of so-called white people throughout America during this same time of this because you got to remember, during the same time that this was going on, this convict leasing, Jake was being murdered and hung all throughout the streets of America. On top of that, the ones who weren't even locked up. So they lived in terror even when they were free, man. But let's look up the word alleged first. All right? Allege. Okay. It reads, and this is from the Winston's Simplified Dictionary Encyclopedia Edition, 1933, with biblical references. Allege. I see better without my glasses. From the Latin, allegation, assertion, that which is asserted or offered as a plea, excuse, or justification. An excuse or justification, right? The statement by a party to a suit of which he is prepared to prove. Oh, that's allegations, Salakia. Okay, so alleging, that's still pretty good. You know, the root word is still alleged. To clear it law but meaning of the word, if it were Latin, to produce the argument, plea, or excuse, to affirm, declare, or assert. Affirm, assert, aver, declare, contradict, deny, oppose. So it's not a fact. They were locking people up just from allegations. Just as if they were hanging and murdering from allegations. So let's look up the word Natali, because I've never seen that word before, and he used it twice. All right. It said Natali, alienation, generally dishonored person. So we're gonna look up that word Natali and dishonored, then we'll move on. We'll keep it going. Then we get back to the reading and bring out a couple scriptures. Well, here's the root word, natal. It says, pertaining to one's birth, a birthday. Oh, wow. Going back into that thing about your birth certificate and how they create a second U with all capital letters that reads the same as your actual name, which is only the first letter of your first, last, or middle initial is in capital. And the rest is in small cases, which is a name pertaining to you. And then you have the other legal fiction. Wow, Esau exposed himself big time with this one, man. I'm starting to understand that. Okay, so through that system, that's how they get you caught up. They connect you to your straw person, to your legal fiction. And your legal fiction, you serve out the sentence that is placed upon your legal. This is heavy, man. It probably just went over a lot of people's heads. But that's pretty heavy. Okay, so let's look up dishonored now. Because I wasn't even trying to go into that, and this led to that. But then again, we are dealing with law here. So, this is, what was the other word? Oh, dishonored. You know, I have a roundabout idea what that word means, but what that word actually entails. But let's look it up anyway. Get the actual definition of dishonored. So he's saying your natali is dishonored. Your legal fiction is dishonored. Wow. Okay. Dishonor. To bring shame upon character, to seduce, violate chastity of or exchange for maturity, a disgrace, a reproach, a shame, a dishonored act, lack of uprightness, integrity. All right. And that wasn't talking about that. It was talking. That was the second definition. But to seduce, violate chastity, or right, or refuse, or fail. Wow, man, this is heavy. Okay, dishonorable. That really doesn't fit it, so I'm going to read that one. But yeah, for a dishonored person, so it says to bring shame upon, and what they're doing is meaning that they bring a shame upon you, allegedly, so illegally, wrongfully, and they lock you up. Psalm 64:8, so that his tongue will be made to fall upon himself. The so-called white man who was Esau, Edom, truly is the devil that the Bible speaks of. This is wisdom of Solomon 2 and 12. All right, let's read the Wisdom of Solomon. All right. And it reads, therefore let us lie in wait for the righteous, because he is not for our turn. And we're not. We're against your turn. We can't wait for the Most High to take you out of power. And he is clean contrary to our doings. He upbraideth us with our offending of the law. We do. We go on the highways and byways, and we reveal that you are the son of perdition, that you are red and not white, and that you are the enemy of who the world ignorantly calls God and Jesus, and you're the enemy of his people, who are the Israelites, who make up collectively Native Americans, Negroes, Latinos, all right, and of course the confusion of faith, which is scattered among all nations, all right, because they're Israelite as well. So it really isn't a color thing; it's an Israelite thing, because some of us actually look like the so-called white man, okay. And if you can't receive that, then you're not a spiritual person, and the Lord is not dealing with you. If you're one of those people who thinks and believes that everybody's going to be black that is an Israelite, you are foolish and unlearned. Period. Okay? With us and our offending of the law, because we did offend the law, this is why we're under that. But this is talking about them at the time. But it says, in object to our family infamy and transgressions of our education. So Esau is cold contrary to us, man. Period. And he seeks to destroy us no matter what, man. Back into the book. Post-Reconstruction legislator expressed the bewilderment and rage at the status by effect of criminalizing Negro behavior. Some illegal behavior patterns identified, especially black, were removed from misdemeanor status and reclassified as felonies. So they purposely took things that was a misdemeanor and made them felonies, knowing that these were the things that Negroes, Salakia, so-called did, man. All right? Proving everything that I just read and all the definitions and the passages that I just read just before this. All right? Because there are clearly two law systems in America. There is one for people of color, especially Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans, and there was one for Caucasians, man, so-called. And that's that draconian law at its strongest, man, where Esau gets the bare minimum of punishment for an offense, and Jake gets the maximum. Case in point, you had 3 rapes, and I'll just bring it up quickly, but you had 3 rapes that happened earlier this year. 3 different cases of rape. And the first one was an Edomite who raped an unconscious girl, and he ended up getting just a couple months in jail. I forget the exact, because it's been a while since I read that. I know I've spoken on it before in another video, but I think it was 6 months he ended up getting, and then they ended up giving him time served, so he only ended up serving 3 months. And the judge happened to be in his fraternity or something like that, and he got the minimum sentencing. And then for having sex with this unconscious girl at a college party, and the judge said he wasn't cut out for prison and it was going to ruin his future. Well, a star athlete, a son of Jacob, a so-called Negro, does the same thing. Allegedly, he has sex with a girl allegedly who was unconscious. All right, from a drug or whatever, same as the Edomite. They gave the young man 25 years. Then the third case, just to prove the point to be correct, what I'm saying, and what we've read, then they had another Edomite who had sex with 2 girls that were both unconscious from drugs that I can't say that he gave them to him, but the girls went unconscious, and he had unauthorized sex with the both of them. He ended up getting no time at all. All right, he got probation. Okay, so that's a justice in America between the Israelite and the so-called white man. That's draconian law. The sons of Jacob get the book thrown at them, get thrown under the prison, and and the Edomite gets to go home to the suburbs, to Lincoln Park, to Skokie, get probation and live his life and go get an executive job and make 6 figures. That's what they do. Okay? Charles L. Flynn, Jr. has recently described with relentless thoroughness how Southern society was defined as an arena for white people. Wow. And blacks as racially defined as laboring caste. Let's look that word up, because I'm not, it's caste with a E on the end. I've never seen it spelt that way, so I'm going to look that word up. Something that we were taught here at GMS by elders that rule well. Something that other people don't do, especially when it comes to reading the Bible. For you, and then I turn right to it. Caste. Lineage used as Hindus by the Portuguese first colonists, one of the restricted hereditary divisions of society in which Hindus are separated by Brahmin religious law, also the system which established the division as the laws of caste. In general, a classification of a society based on such externals as wealth or occupation, also one of the classes so distinguished the social position. So I don't need to read anymore. That pretty much explains it. And if that went over your head, then you're pretty slow. You need to go back and watch this a couple times, man. You know, just that part. You can rewind it and just watch it again and again. Okay. And it says the equation of whiteness with membership in society was inseparable from the implicit equation of black labor with agricultural law as a whole and whiteness with capital. Right. So there you go. You were white, you were allowed to make money in this society, and the law was friendly to you. The banks would give you loans and help you to open up businesses. If you were so-called black, especially, you weren't allowed any of that, especially during this time. You were the workforce and work labor, generally for pennies or free, to make the owners and investors and thus said businesses wealthy. All right, white equal property, equal capital, equal society. Black equal poverty, equal labor, equal something somehow alien. All right. And I'm gonna say it again. Statistics show that more drugs are used by Edomites than Israelites, but the drug laws are not enforced in so-called white communities, as in so-called black and brown communities. Hence the reason why even modern sped up from this time period, from that time period to this one, why it's more Israelites locked up in the prison system than it is so-called white people. Okay. A second economic consideration involves capital expenditure. Again, the indifference between slavery and convicts least becomes clear when two are juxtaposed. While the individual slave represented to his master a certain capital outlay, convicts in the main represented a capital expenditure only to aggregate. Here as elsewhere, it must be borne in mind that the practice varied widely from state to state, even within states. These differences can be represented graphically in a system matrix. Expenditures from perspective of owners, as labor aggregated, slaves aggregated, individual, convicts individual aggregated. So they made them one and the same. Okay? The individual convict as such did not represent the significant investment in his death or release, therefore not a loss. When considered as a source of labor, then slaves received a wage best thought of as aggregated convicts. One as an individual to form a capital. By contrast, slaves were individually significant. Convicts collectively, so this does turn to be relevant distinction rather than a metaphysical exercise, for the consequence was an economic incentive to abuse prisoners. So it was an economic incentive, man. You worked them till they died. These were economic factors. The subsequence of a lower than substance wage, the convicts receive their status as aggregated capital, served to reinforce one and make the least, from the point of view the economic definition, worse than slavery. So aggregated, and this aggregated position of servitude they're in was actually worse than slavery, man. Hey, so with that, I'm going to say all praises and glory and honor be unto Yahweh Bashem Yahushai. I hope this video was edifying and informative. All right. And shalom.